Tony Anderson from Florida. How are you today? It's Saturday about, I don't know, 12:30 or 1 o'clock, someplace in there. I came on today, I want to talk a little bit about gut health, and then I'm going to add some components in related to our Triad products that I'm selling. And I think that as I go through the talk, you can understand why they play a key role of importance in your health. I want to just talk a little bit about, I guess, first of all, to just say your gut is the window to your health. Now, I've been in healthcare for a long time, and I've always kind of thought about our gut as secondary. I mean, what's more important than the heart? More important than the lungs? More important than the kidneys? More important than my brain? It's hard for us to really begin to really look at what is it that drives our health? And the window begins in your gut. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about a few things that I think are important for us to think about. I got this information off looking at videos online, as well as my readings. And my background is I am a registered nurse, and I have a degree also in biology. And hi, Jackie, how are you? As well as other preparations for administrative types of roles that I did in healthcare in California. So I just wanted to start by saying that when we're talking about gut health, it all starts in your mouth. So because digestion begins in our mouth, down the esophagus, into the stomach, from the stomach into the small intestine. And the small intestine, by the way, is about probably 9 to 15 feet in length and 1 centimeter in thickness, and very, very small and narrow. Our large intestine is about, 15 feet long. So it's all wrapped around in here, and you kind of wonder how in the world does all that stuff fit in there, but it does. But I want you to think about the fact that when we're talking about our gut, it all starts here, where we begin to put food into our mouth. From a long-term perspective, when you're thinking about your gut as being healthy, hi, Jackie. When you're thinking about your gut as being healthy, you think about it as having the appropriate microbials present there. So the organisms that are present there are in the right numbers and in the right different diversity, because there's so much that goes on in our gut in terms of the microbiome and the different viruses, the different bacterias, the different fungi. All of those things need to be in a homeostatic state, I guess is just a good word for it, in order for our gut to be as healthy as possible. Without that, disease happens. Without that, our emotional well-being is affected. And I'm going to talk about that piece of it mostly today. Emotional well-being is affected. Without that, we do not live a life of happiness necessarily when our gut is not in order. So your microbiome of your intestinal tract is extraordinarily important. So I'm going to talk about 3 different things, and then I'll kind of summarize what that does for us. But tryptophan, many of you have heard of tryptophan as it's an amino acid, and we heard about it. And I heard about it when I was really young. When we'd have turkey dinner at Thanksgiving. Tryptophan is present in turkey, as well as it is present in other foods like eggs. It's really, really prominent in eggs, and cheeses. But tryptophan is an amino acid that is present in the body, and when you eat the right foods, even in more amounts. So when you think about if you took tryptophan, what 2 things does it primarily play a role in? And one is the secretion of serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that is secreted in the gut. Hi, Deanna, how are you? Good morning. It's actually not morning here, but it's secreted in the gut, gets into the bloodstream, travels to the brain, and that is the neurotransmitter that gives us a sense of well-being, decrease in anxiety. Really, how you approach the world is in a much more positive way. So serotonin is really dependent on tryptophan being present, that amino acid being present. And if your gut's not healthy and your microbiome isn't healthy, just think about the fact that you're not going to be able to produce that in the way in which you want to. The other thing is melatonin. Melatonin is also occurring within our gut. It's synthesized there. Melatonin is dependent on tryptophan. So when melatonin is secreted, goes into the bloodstream, goes to the brain, and what does it do? Melatonin, we all know, we buy some of the across-the-counter medications at the grocery store, melatonin to help us get some sleep. Well, melatonin is found in tryptophan, that amino acid, and it helps with the synthesis of melatonin. So it gets in your bloodstream, goes to the brain, and helps with your circadian rhythms. So it helps you with that sleep and wake patterns that we all need in order to get our rest. So think about that when you're thinking about your microbiome and how important it is that it is populated with the right organisms in order for us to be healthy. The other one is tyrosine, which is a non-essential amino acid. In other words, it's not synthesized in our body, but phenylalanine, which is something some of us have heard about it. We're in healthcare because we test children for that when they're first born, called a PKU. So tyrosine is a byproduct of phenylalanine. So so that's found in some soy products, so you could eat something like that in order to, eggs is another thing, so in order for you to have tyrosine present in your bloodstream. What does it play a role in? Dopamine. Dopamine is what? Another neurotransmitter secreted in the gut. If you don't have a healthy microbiome, you're not going to secrete dopamine, and dopamine is our happy hormone. It gets into that bloodstream and it goes to that brain, and it helps to supply that whole spirit around being happy. So without phenylalanine and tyrosine, our dopamine is not going to be secreted, and our dopamine won't be secreted anyway if our gut isn't healthy. The other thing is norepinephrine and epinephrine, two other neurotransmitters found in the gut. Those are called our fight and flight transmitters. So, something urgent happens, there's a fire, you're able to respond to it because you produce that norepinephrine and epinephrine to get your heart rate going and to get you thinking about that fight and flight, whatever it is that you need to do. So you're not just lying on the couch taking a nap while things are really happening around you. So you want to have those neurotransmitters available to your body so that in your microbiome, in other words, it's produced in the gut, epinephrine and norepinephrine. So you want to have that available to you. Indole 3-lactic acid, that's found in fermented food. Hi, Erin, how are you? Found in fermented foods such as sauerkraut and pickles, fermented pickles. This plays a huge role in antioxidants. It's a huge antioxidant. I want you to hear the word huge antioxidant. In order for you to be able to secrete that and for that to be available in your bloodstream, you need a healthy microbiome. So we call it ILA. It's a little bit easier to say. So it's indole 3-lactic acid. That actually helps with promoting antioxidants. So it gets rid of those free radicals that are floating in your bloodstream that does what? Causes disease, causes illness, causes cancers and autoimmune diseases, etc. So, your body depends on you having that available, that amino acid available in your body. So what does a healthy gut look like? Has a diverse population of microbials, a diverse population of bacteria, diverse population of fungi, a diverse population of viruses, all of those things that are essential for all of our chemical responses in our body to occur. And in the right ratio. Because here's what happens, and this I found was fascinating, that if I lived my life eating foods that are high in sugars, for example, my microbiome and my gut are going to adjust to that. And they're going to have an overpopulation of those types of bacteria, those type of viruses, those type of fungi are going to be growing there because that's what I eat. Can that be corrected in the future? And according to what I've read, it can, but sometimes you get to a point where there's nothing it can do. That we've treated our gut so poorly for so long that it cannot get back the microbiome that's necessary to be able to deal with the diverse food intake that we're taking. So, there's different microbiome that's present when you're eating protein, different microbiome for fats, different microbiome for carbohydrates. So your way in which you eat is who you are and who you will become and how likely you are to have disease occurring within your body. I think I told people in one of my other videos that when I was younger, and I was about 40, I had an autoimmune disease that came very quickly, sarcoidosis came very quickly and disappeared very quickly. Thank God it did, because in some instances, sarcoidosis can be crippling and actually has caused death in people if it gets into the pulmonary, into the lungs. So I was very fortunate that I was able to overcome that. My immune system was healthy enough that it could. There is an example, healthy enough that I was able to overcome it. So things that I think are lethal to all of us in our microbiome, and when I say lethal, it's going to be something that is going to hinder our health. So it's putting foods into our mouth that are going to affect our microbiome or our bacteria, our viruses, our fungi in a negative way, and the diversity of that can be affected by what foods we eat. You eat foods high in sugar and processed food, your microbiome is going to show that. You eat more of a balanced diet or a diet that is going to support a variety of microbiome in your gut, and you're going to be healthier. The other thing is medication, antibiotics, and I've said this before, antibiotics are going to destroy your microbiome. The good and the bad. It's going to get rid of the bad, but it's going to get rid of the bad and the good. And then you got to be able to regain that back. And over the course of years, if we continue to take those medications ongoing without thought being given to what it's doing and the havoc it's doing in our intestinal tract, we are going to suffer for that, and we're going to suffer with disease. And disease meaning autoimmune diseases, cancers, cardiovascular disease, renal diseases. All of those things are going to be affected by it. The other thing I thought was fascinating, I was listening to one of the videos about, think about, and for all of us that are older, think about how we used to play when we were children. We'd go down to the lake and go fishing, and we'd get dirty and play in the dirt, and we'd play in the sand, and we were exposed to so many microorganisms, and our body then got used to preventing those microorganisms from affecting our health, because we began to develop resistance to them. And today, when you think about children, how many children go out and play in the dirt? How many of them go out and play in the sand? Or are they spending more time on their phones and their iPads and their computers, Those are the things that we have to think about. We're in a very aseptic world in so many ways. And I was just thinking about that in regard to COVID and all the things that we've been through with COVID, how we wore masks, how we didn't interface with organisms in our world in the same way that we have, how our children don't interface with organisms in the school systems because they stayed home and they got, they took their courses at home with their family. We need to really be able to think about how that is affecting our microbiome of our gut as it relates to how aseptic our world is and how aseptic our life is today versus in the past. Now let's just parallel that. Hi, how are you? Let's parallel that a bit by our products. I am on a journey. I know people know I'm on a journey of trying to be the healthiest version of myself in my last third of my life. And by the way, one of my friends told me the other day, Tony, I think you're in the last quarter. And I thought, that wasn't very nice to tell me I'm in the last quarter of my life. I'm going to stick with the last third of my life. And I want to be as healthy as I can. I've done a lot of fasting. Some of you have seen some of my videos on fasting. My intermittent fasting that I've been doing. But I've always been really cognizant of what do I add into my diet to make me as healthy as I can be through intermittent fasting or through just our routine, normal day of how we eat. So happy tides are high fiber, high nucleotides. Just keep in mind fiber in our diet. 80% of the population does not have enough fiber in the diet. This actually fulfills the fiber component along with the nucleotides, which is essential for RNA and DNA rejuvenation. So really a great product. The other part of our Triad, so that's our happy tides, and our BioMyX, whoops, wrong one. Oh, yes, it is. Our BioMyX, which is short-chain amino acids, which are tributarates, which also help with the healing of the gut, making sure that the gut is healthy, and so that you can absorb all of those neurotransmitters I just talked about earlier. But in addition, it has A, D, and K, and I'm not going to go into the details of those. I have those in the other videos, but our A, D, and K are essential for our immune system and many, many other functions that are really important for our body. D, we've all heard about vitamin D quite a bit. That's essential for every cell in our body, not just our immune system, in order for it to be healthy. So these two. And the third product of our Triad is our Happy Humol. This is a trademarked product. It is absolutely outstanding. It plays a role in anti-inflammatory antioxidants. Both are factors in disease, both of which you want to have the lowest level of inflammation in your body and the biggest ability to get rid of the free radicals out of our body that cause disease. Xanthrohumol, one of the strongest anti-inflammatories there is on the planet. That's one of the components of it. PQQ, carbon 60, which is clouded for aging, extending your age, the aging process, I should say. And then curcumin, highly anti-inflammatory. These are called our Triad, and probably one of our most, I think our premier products that we promote for gut health. I want to just say it again at the very end. Your gut is the window to your health. Your gut is the window to your health. And even all of us in healthcare, we need to be able to move our thinking around. If your gut and your microbiome isn't healthy, there won't be one part of your body that's going to be healthy into your future. So I'll leave that with you on this Saturday, and I hope you have a great Saturday, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye for now.